problem. We'll get on that later on. We're talking about DNA right now. We'll get on that later on, brother. Go ahead. Barely part of YAP gang or barely coming here to Oh no, yeah, you were the one talking about the article. All right, come on, Fervent Charity. Let me put your screen up. Come on, Ella Green, come to the microphone whilst I'm setting Fervent Charity up, and then I'm gonna let the Hebrew Israel. These brothers gonna go over their stuff. Ella Green, you seen the email, right? Yeah. I mean, you see my text, right?
Yes, the text.
Tuesday. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna text you some more right now. Go ahead.
Ella Green, how many armor bearers you have at your assembly?
And he laughing hard.
What year is your Rolls Royce that you roll around in? Just want to know, so we can, because folks got to make it clear.
Hey, I don't have no. You don't know the answer to that, man. But hey, all I can say, if the Lord bless me to drive a Rolls Royce, I'm gonna drive it. That's all I'm gonna say. But I ain't gonna rob the people to get it. That's gonna be the key right there.
Come on.
I ain't gonna rob the people to get it. No, ain't no way in the world I'm gonna do that. But if he blessed me to ride in a Rolls Royce, hey, I'm gonna get it. Hey, because he told me now. He told me he want me to be the head and not the tail. He told me he want me to be above.
All right, what that head mean?
I just got me a new truck, Elder Green.
Hey, yo, shut your mouth trying to stunt. I said, Jordan, that better not be Fervent Charity in front of that blacked out thing. It was. Looking like the lights in my heart. I said, truck too big for him. I need that truck. You see how people get
Jordan ain't doing no construction. He got a truck. Come on now.
See.
Come on. There's plenty barbers out here doing six figures. I don't want to talk about Jordan business, but go ahead.
But see, the fact of the matter is this. See, this is the fact of the matter. Deuteronomy, I think, chapter 8 said this. God has given me, I take it personal. God has given me the power to get wealth, to establish. Is that me popping? I don't know who somebody's popping.
No, I'll mute whoever it is. I want everybody. Go ahead.
I received this for me. Now I ain't trying to push on nobody else. Y'all know how I roll by now. I've gone on here 2 years now. Y'all know how I flow. Ain't nothing changed about me from day one. Go look at the tape. So God has given me, I take it personally, me the power to get wealth to establish his covenant. Come on now. So now that wealth there don't just mean finances though. It don't mean just money. It means health. It means network. It means, whatever he has blessed you with to sustain yourself, whether it be, like I said, finances, whether it be good health, whether it be, a talent or whatever it is. That word wealth in the Hebrew covers all that. He's given me that to establish his covenant. So what I'm going to be careful to do is take the wealth, whether it be finances, ability, whether it be intellect, whether it be networking, whatever it may be, I'm going to try to make sure that I continue to establish the kingdom of God. Because he also promised me that if I seek him first, hallelujah, all these other things gonna follow. I don't gotta seek the thing. And that don't mean in life we ain't gonna have some ups and downs. We're gonna have some ups and downs and tests and trials. Paul said he know how to abound and how to abate. So sometimes we are gonna have some valley experiences. Sometimes we're gonna have some low times in our walk. Everything ain't gonna be Sunday. Everything ain't gonna be Shabbat. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna stand on what he promised me and walk it out best I can. Hallelujah.
Come on. All right. Hold on a second. All right. Y'all heard that. Come on, Jordan. What's going on here? And then, matter of fact, Hebrew Israel, what's this right here we're seeing on screen? I'm going to start with you, brother.
Right now, he has his 23 and me pulled up, and it looks like he's on the section that's just a generic home page. Can you scroll up, Jordan, I believe? Is that your name? I want to make sure I get it right.
Yeah, Jordan, we call him Fervent Charity. I'm walking away. Y'all go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah, so scroll up if you can, please.
All right. You see it? You see the top?
Yeah, so push ancestry and traits.
Which
I just
one?
want to make sure you're all the way at the top. It's right beside home. It's go up.
We can click start with ancestry.
I see.
Yeah, either will take you to the same spot.
So
yeah, push all ancestry reports. All right. Now scroll down to, all right, so let me take a look. So you have for Neanderthal ancestry, you have 92 variants. Your maternal haplogroup is L3D1, and your paternal haplogroup is E-M85. So you are indeed YAP. But push the paternal haplogroup actually. Or actually, no, scroll up. Let's actually go to the map. Scroll all the way back up. Up. Push ancestry, push overview, excuse me, overview. Go over right there. And then push view your ancestry composition. I want to see on a map. Yeah, right there. So let's see what you get. So let me blow up my screen because it's kind of difficult for me to see. So you're 68.3% autosomally sub-Saharan African. Scroll down some more. Mostly West African, which is pretty interesting. Keep scrolling. And then you're 29.9% autosomal.
Hey, Avery, let's go a little bit slower for the people who
Oh, I'm
don't.
going too fast. Okay, not bad. So did you want to break down more some of the sub-Saharan African or the European?
We can either go really slow. We can either like go really quick and go through it and then go back and do it slow, or just go do it slow first.
All right, we can deal with this wide DNA then. Can you scroll all the way down, Jordan, on the page?
I can't hear.
Here, okay, is that
All the way
all you
down
can-
right here.
No, not on the side tab, but on the page. You want to see your Y-DNA haplogroup.
Oh, that's the far.
You got them going all back and forth.
Okay. Yeah, push ancestry and traits. It's a little bit different on mine. That's interesting. Push, yeah, scroll down and go to paternal haplogroup right
on the right. Yeah. So he's old like me, Bree. He's not neither E1B1A nor E1B1B. He's real close to EM96 or whatnot.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Hold on, let me blow it up on my.
So that DE, you want to break down the fact that DE is letting him know that he's YAP?
Yeah, so
let's slow this down. Like Avery, I need you to slow down like a good 70% from your normal. Just speed through the thing because again, we need to talk about this for people who don't do this every day.
Right. All right. So you're E-M85, and basically your forefather, your ancient paternal forefather, is DE, which is YAP. This is why we call ourselves YAP gang. By the way, just to understand what YAP means, it's a Y-ALU polymorphism. It's a specific protein that only people with haplogroup D and E have. So you have that particular gene, the YAP gene. So can you scroll down a little bit so people can see DE on your screen? And I'm going to read it. Push it right there. Yeah, push it.
So what this is, people, this is a haplogroup tree. So all right. It's gonna start where his haplogroups begin, the mutations begin, and where they finally end up with George himself.
That is correct. And just push the tab that says DE. I'm gonna read that.
Do they always start with A?
Yeah, they all.
Yeah, and the female mitochondria will always start with L.
So let's look into this. So it says the first steps of your paternal line ancestors led from Eastern Africa north towards the Red Sea and haplogroup DE-M145. The DE lineage branched away from its brothers around 65,000 years ago. among the first of our ancestors to cross out of Africa into the Arabian Peninsula. Most descendants of the DE lineage belong to one of its two branches, D and E. Men carrying D moved east into Asia, and those with E moved west into Africa and Europe. And so right there, it talks about how DE came out of Africa and went into the Arabian Peninsula, or really it had its genesis in the Arabian Peninsula. And that's what most geneticists would say, that DE had its genesis in Arabia, or in somewhere in the Middle East, or basically in Eurasia. And like the paper says, people with haplogroup D are your distant ancient relatives and cousins. So you do have ancient distant cousins in Asia. Those are the D markers, but you fall under E, Jordan. You have something to say more?
Yeah, before we go further, it's important to note that you're going to see times equated to these haplogroups that deal with an old Earth timeline. So if you are in fact a young Earth creationist, don't be turned off by the fact that these haplogroups are associated with old Earth timelines, because there are young Earth creationist models that also associate that also use haplogroups and explain haplogroups, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there are some people out there that are purporting you should not pay any attention to haplogroups because they back up like a macroevolutionary model. However, there are young Earth creations that do also use haplogroups and fit them into their young Earth 6,000 year model, etc. So you can be young Earth, old Earth, and haplogroups. It's still viable scientifically in both models.
Yeah, that's true. I actually have a video where I break down the different time periods of how old the Earth could be. A old Earth, a young Earth, and then somewhere more in the middle. But I'm not going to go too deep into that. But yes, you can make models where these haplogroups can be a lot younger. But push E-M96. We're going to read that tab. All right, so it says your path branched off again over 60,000 years ago with the rise of haplogroup E-M96, also simply called haplogroup E. The common ancestor of E-M96 may have lived in northeastern Africa or in the Arabian Peninsula. Since then, his descendants have carried it throughout the African continent and into neighboring regions of Europe and the Middle East. So right there is just saying that haplogroup E was either in northeastern Africa, which is, around the Red Sea region, or it was in the Arabian Peninsula, which is, of course, on the other side of the Red Sea. And us at YAP, we kind of pose for a more Middle Eastern origin for E, but even if it is in Northeast Africa, that's pretty close to the Middle East in itself. And this is also why we say when it comes to E1B1A, going a little bit off subject, but this is also why we say when it comes to E1B1A, we didn't have our genesis in West and Central Africa. Haplogroup E, haplogroup DE, it's either in Northeastern Africa or it's in the Middle East itself. We couldn't have just popped up in West Central Africa. We had to migrate there. But anyways, getting away from that. Was there anything you want to say to this more? This tab or?
Nope.
All right. Can you scroll down for me, Jordan? And if you have any questions as I kind of go through this, just state them. All right. Okay. So, yes, sir. You got something?
No, I don't have anything. I'm listening because I don't know what none of this means. So.
Okay. Well, let's take a read at this. So it says your paternal line. So this is E-M96, origin and migration of haplogroup E-M96. It says your paternal
and
line.
So real quick, this is going to apply to most people who have like any kind of subclass of haplogroup E. This is going to apply to everyone that has a subclass of haplogroup.
Right. This applies to everybody that falls under haplogroup E. That's true because that's E-M96.
Mhm.
So it says your paternal line stems from haplogroup E-76, the root of all E branches. E-96 likely split from D, its brother haplogroup, between 62,000 and 72,000 years ago, where the two lineages diverged through, and the location of the first man to carry the E-96 haplogroup is still debated. Some research indicates haplogroup E arose in northern Africa because that is where most haplogroup E lineages are found today. Other research suggests haplogroup E arose in Southwest Asia, that's the Middle East, by the way, and migrated back into Africa shortly afterwards. So again, it's posing that it's haplogroup E either had its origin in North Africa or in the Middle East. So it's kind of just rehashing some of the other stuff. Since then, migrants have carried it throughout the continent and into neighboring regions of Europe and the Middle East. Within Africa, excuse me, within Africa, haplogroup E-M96 is extremely common and widespread, reaching levels of 75% or more among Arabs. Very interesting. The Berbers in Morocco, Senegalese in Western Africa, and Bantu-speaking groups in South Africa and Kenya. So we're going to pause right here. This is very interesting. So when it comes to haplogroup E, as I just said, it's not just in Africa. It's also in Europe, and it's also in the Middle East. A lot of people try to make this like an exclusively African haplogroup, but no, it's in Europe, it's in the Middle East, and it even names ethnic groups that it's found among. And again, 75% among Arab peoples. A lot of Arabs carry haplogroup E. And as we know, Arabs, there's a lot of different points of views on their origins in the scriptures, whether they're Ishmaelites or Jokhtanites or whatever. We also
I'm sorry, let me cut you off for a second. So this is not, he don't have what we would call Middle Eastern. I know it's multiple. It's a couple of different haplogroups, I believe it is, if I'm using the correct term. Is Jordan, did he originate in Africa or the Middle East?
Well, when it comes to haplogroup D, E, and E, it could have either been in North Africa, his ancestors' origins, or it could have been in the Middle East. Yes. It says that it could have been in Southwest Asia or the Arabian Peninsula.
Okay, all right. He done them light-skinned Egyptians, all them folk. All right, Fervent Charity, you all right. I can't because I had some runs ready for him, but keep going, brother. All right.
And here's the thing, Berean. His haplogroup is even shared with Arabs. It's shared with the Berbers in Morocco.
So it's a chance that he might be Semitic then.
Yeah, there's a chance. Well, in our model, we believe DE is Shem. But if we were going with a secular idea, then he could still be Semitic, depending on a few things.
All right, Jordan. I can't. All right, I can't. Keep going, brother. Go ahead. I'm listening. Dang. I was ready to drag that African. I was ready to drag that Hamite up and down the road. But I can't, Elder Green. Go ahead, Hebrew Israel. Dang.
Yeah, and so real quick, I think this is going to be interesting. You're gonna hear a lot of people say that your haplogroup should confirm your autosomal DNA and whatnot, right? And that is extremely true in certain senses when it comes to migrations and lineage and whatnot, right? So Jordan's DNA in particular, his paternal haplogroup is you can find it in East Africa very heavy. You can find it in Southern Arabia a little bit. You can find it West Africa, etc. And so we should, like, if his paternal line is going back that way, we should see that also play up in his autosomal DNA. So I have a hunch we're going to see like a large chunk of East African DNA, probably some stuff closer on Kenya potentially. We're going to see some stuff, a good chunk of what the broadly West African, which is going to be close to like Senegal, Mali, Mauritania, and how it comes up in 23andMe. And I bet you somewhere in his trace DNA, somewhere we're going to find some potential North African, Middle Eastern, Western Asian type stuff.
Hey,
go ahead.
Now, real quick, because the man asked a question. Isn't the Middle East geographically, technically Africa? Anyway, considered if it sits on the African tectonic plate?
Yeah, geographically, yeah.
Okay, but when they made maps at that time, and when we make maps, do they always use tectonic plates or the other factors in making maps?
Oh, there's a lot of factors that go into maps, but check this out, dude. You can go older in time, right? You can go back to like the last glacial maximum, like 14,000 years ago, and find out like before the Red Sea was the Red Sea, when it was like a lake. You can see to where like the lands were combined and all kind of stuff. Like you can go back into the ancient flora and fauna of Arabia and find out that like Arabia used to look like the African savannas and whatnot, with the same animals, same topography, and all that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they're 100% connected.
Yeah, not just Just want to bring up in terms of if we use in terms of Middle East, it's not the same one thing or other politically or geographically. It's just what we understand it to be. If you say Africa, it doesn't anyway. It doesn't hold as much substance in terms of exact location.
Right. So I think that'd be a good time to go to. Do you want to go to the mitochondria, or you want to go to the? Or what do you want to do?
Yeah, I want to stick a little bit more on his why before I get to the MT. So if you don't mind, Berean, I actually want to share my screen really quick because I looked up Jordan's haplogroup. I want to show him the type of peoples that carry it and the location. So let me.
Another green. If you got any questions too, jump on in. There it is.
You see my screen? Let me see. All right. So Jordan, write down some of these DNA websites like Family Tree DNA. And when it comes to your haplogroup, I'm not going to read everything, so don't worry. But I do want to show you this. When it comes to people who share your haplogroup, it says there are 131 DNA tested descendants. And they specified that their earliest known origins are from the United States, Saudi Arabia, Kenya, and 14 other countries. So
earliest, you said the earliest, right?
Right, the earliest known origins.
Hold on a minute. Listen to this one right here, Dunamis. The quest for racial supremacy. If folks been thinking that they were Africans, never mind. Go, just keep going, because I can't deal with.
You can be African and still be Semitic. I mean, there's nothing. You can be both. But so it says that E-M85 descendants are from these countries. It says United States, Kenya, Saudi Arabia. That's very interesting, and other countries, 14 other countries. So here's like a little tree.
Kenya as well.
Did I say where?
No, you looked at Kenya. That's what I'll make sure people understand.
Oh, Kenya. My bad.
Because Jordan's probably have a good chunk of DNA that comes from that part.
And then y'all remember there's the stuff coming up on the screen there. I don't want to, because somebody want to know, how was he Semite when he's 30% European? That European came on with race, with some mixing during slavery. Because he said his mama light skin. I don't know if light came on the boat.
Yeah,
that came from NASA playing itself.
Yeah, that European is just autosomal, so it's just admixture that he acquired along the way. The only thing I would say that when it comes to Semitic ancestry is dealing with haplogroups. But if we deal with autosomal, it might be something like Natufian or Ibero-Mauritian DNA, but that's a whole nother thing I'm not going to get into. But here's another thing I want to show you, Jordan. So I typed in, and here's another website you need to look into. Get your notes. Type in SNP Tracker. SNP Tracker. It's a decent website that can track migration patterns of haplogroups. And so just put in your haplogroup. I already did it for you. E-M85. And just like what it said in your 23andMe, it seems like it does have a northeast African type of origin. It's right there near the Red Sea.
Hey, Ibri, scroll down just a little bit more so you can compensate for the comments on the screen.
Can you?
Don't blow it up. Scroll down.
Oh, scroll down. My bad. Like this.
Now you got to blow up a little bit more, but actually scroll down so Berean can put the comments up, but you can also show the entire migration part that you're showing.
Do you remember the comment more, or I'll put it back?
No. I'm just saying so it doesn't interfere with you putting up.
Yes.
He can show all the information he wants to show because he's trying to show a full migration pattern right quick.
Is this better right here?
Yeah, you're fine.
Oh, okay. So what we're going to do is push descendants. Let's see where the descendants are for this, for your E-M8085. So if you push that, you get this. You see a lot of his E-M85 going into the Middle East.
Hold on, go back just a little bit. Go back one because we didn't show the people where the EM85 specifically was on that map because it stacks over EM54.
So if you see that that dark blue, that is his E-M85. That's like his founder effect right there.
And if we start all the way over to the left, like so, this is how it mimics the what we just looked at the 23andMe, where it said it started off at A, and then it went down to DE, and then it went down to the EM96, etc. Whatnot. We're kind of seeing that same kind of a concept here, and then we're seeing the migration from the left all the way to the right, looping around into East Africa.
Right. And again, this is just further evidence that when it comes to a lot of quote unquote African Americans, because I'm pretty sure people, if they see Jordan, you know, they'll say, oh, he's an African American. A lot of us, well, yeah, a lot of us with these E markers, we will not have West Central African origins. That's not where our forefathers started. As you can see with Jordan and his E-M85, it's all the way in East Africa, very close to the Red Sea. It's not, his founder effect didn't happen in West and Central Africa. So again, I have to keep pressuring this point that we don't have West Central African origins. We migrated there. But I want to show you where the descendants are of E-M85.
Hey, real quick, hold on. Let's go back down, Ebri.
Yep.
So I see A is starting in the middle of Africa.
Right.
For the Bible thumpers, would it be? Is it indicating that Adam or the Adam pick would start in this area? Maybe where Edom would be, or what? How would that work?
If you were to take what's his name, Professor Hugh Ross. If you were to take his approach, then yes, because Hugh Ross is a old Earth creationist, and so he believes in pretty much everything when it comes to the concepts of to a certain degree when it comes to the concepts of evolution and things like that. So you would, if you were want to take that type of old Earth approach, although with YAP game we take a slightly different approach when it comes to this. Personally, I believe Adam wasn't in like sub-Saharan Africa or anything like that. I believe Adam was in the Levant, but that's a whole nother thing. And that the Earth was not the way it is today. It was more like Pangea, but that's a whole nother thing, dealing with the flood and the breaking up the continents and all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm more in agreement with Ebri on that.
All right, Elder Green, you cool with this? Being the elder, you
Cool.
good? Okay.
Cool with what
What you said, the DNA, the maps, all that kind of stuff.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm just not this out of my lane. I'm totally out of my lane, but yeah, I mean, I can't say anything about that.
Hey, shout out to Elder Green for that.
Shalom.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, Ebri.
So now let's look at descendants for E-M85. And if you push descendants, it shows a lot of it going in the Middle East. You see these colors. You have to look at these colors over here because they kind of tell you the time period. So we see, I believe this is, I'm thinking this is yellow, maybe. So this yellow would be Rome, around the time of the Roman era. And then this blue, I'm thinking that's Bronze Age. So you basically have some E-M85s in Bronze Age, Iron Age, you see green, and Roman era, Arabia, Middle East. But now let's go to the next segment of this. So if you get a chance, Jordan, type in YFull, YFULL, and Y tree, and it will show you, the founder effect, the TMRCA, the most common recent ancestor, and it will show you people who have your haplogroup. So we see that in Gambia, people have your haplogroup, specifically Mandinka. We also see in Kenya, near the Rift Valley, people have your haplogroup. We see in the Congo, people have your haplogroup. So your haplogroup is in Africa just as much as it is in the Middle East. And we see Kenya again, Kenya again, Kenya again, and Kenya again. This, as y'all know, Kenya's in, East Africa. So let's go to Y heat map. If you get a chance, write that down. Y heat map and type in E-M85. And it's going to give you E-M90 because that's kind of where it comes from. And it's going to show you that it's in Senegal and Gambia, just like what said, what Weifel said. It's in Kenya, and it's down here near South Africa. I believe this is Mozambique. So these are the type of people who can carry your haplogroup. A lot in East Africa, and then some people in West Africa. It almost looks like an east to west migration, as Moore would say.
Yeah, there's two possibilities with your Y DNA, which is extremely interesting because it's also found in places like Madagascar and amongst the Comorians and whatnot, right? And also in the Mana and whatnot, right? So there's two possible sources of your DNA coming over here on the slave trade. Either you come from an old migration going from east to west Africa, like Ibri was just talking about, through the Sahel. You see a Senegal and Mali, like your DNA is also found in Senegal, Mali, northern Cameroon, etc. Very consistent with the Sahel, trans-Saharan trade routes, etc. whatnot. Or your DNA came over from the ports of East Africa in Mozambique and Madagascar. So I'm very intrigued to see what your trace DNA looks like and what your East Asian DNA looks like. And what your East African DNA looks like, because we'll be able to figure out whether it was an east-west migration from East Africa to West Africa, or if your people were potentially taken from East Africa.
Hey, Moore, how would I go about getting those things done?
When we're done going through this, we can look at your autosomal. We can definitely tell you a lot from that.
Okay.
Hey, excuse me, real quick. I don't mean to interrupt, but there's one question I wanted to ask because I'm just not following something real quick. And real quick, I'm not the DNA guy. I just want to ask this question, and then I'll just be out if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Whenever we were looking at the distribution of Jordan's DNA, and what's up, Jordan? What's going on? Whenever we're looking at the distribution of his DNA, it kind of mirrors what we're looking at here with this white heat map, and it shows the origins of E primarily in the middle of Africa, off to the side as well. And then how you mentioned it even is possibly in Europe. Now, what I find, it's confusing to me, is if E is supposed to be Shemitic or of Jacob himself or something like that, right? Something along those lines. Why would it not originate more towards where either Abraham came from in Ur or in the Levant area itself? How come it starts from somewhere in the middle to lower Africa and then migrates to the Levant if that's where they're supposed to have originated? I just don't get that part.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So when it comes to the origins of basically haplogroup E, or more specifically haplogroup DE, most of the papers that you read would say that it has a more Middle Eastern origin because, of course, with DE, everybody with D migrated to the east, and basically in India, Japan, and over here in Southeastern Asia. And so read most of the papers, and I can pull them up if you like. They would say that haplogroup E either originated somewhere in the Middle East. Some people even say a little bit even further to the east. And one of the oldest E samples that we found in the world, the oldest E samples are actually in the Levant with people like the Natufians, or they're in North Africa with people like the Ibero-Maurusians. And I can pull up sources and stuff for that as well. But yeah, it's highly unlikely that haplogroup E had a sub-Saharan African origin. It's likely that it had either like a Northern African origin or a Middle Eastern origin.
Yeah, and that was reflecting what Ibri read from the information on 23andMe. That's where he slowed down when he explained that it's when it said like Southwestern Asia, that he was saying that was the Middle East.
Yeah, and that's when I was looking at as well. Because that was where the confusion is. Because as soon as we went into his DNA, we looked at the distribution, and it showed all the areas. And I just found it to be interesting that all the areas were highlighted in Africa except the Middle East and Levant region. And I don't understand why you would do that if in the very next page it said, well, they could have originated for this area, and then the majority of the scholarship that y'all show says that it could have originated from the Levant area as well. Whenever I look at the origins of E, again, I don't know a whole lot. Not very many actually originate in the Levant. And if they're supposed to be Shemitic, like they are the people, which I understand they're more because of the mixed multitude, but let's say they are the people, why do I not see more with Levant origins?
Kobe, you know some of them Ashkenazi Jews, Sephardic Jews, and all them got E1, B1.
Yeah, agreed.
Right.
Yeah. No, I know. And again, I don't really care either way. I think whatever. It doesn't matter what I think. But I'm just trying to understand more.
When you say more, how many you're expecting to see? Because out of the ones that you do see, it does make up a large population of the Middle East, North Africa, etc.
Well, what I kind of expect to see is, for example, when Jordan found out his DNA and that it's E, everybody says, he's part of YAP gang, and because of that, there's real possibility of being Shemitic, which put a majority of African Americans would be E in a sense, along with some other crews. Now, if that's true, and okay, if it is, but why don't I see more originating from the Levant? Everybody that I've seen with E, there's no Levant origins. It's always somewhere else in Africa, and I'm just trying to make sense of this because again, I'm not the DNA guy, and I just wanted to make sense to me.
Right. When you're saying more, quantify it from like how many would make sense to you? Like how many haplogroups would make sense to you?
Oh, are you talking about what could possibly be from that area?
Yeah, you're saying why don't you see more? Like
Okay,
so there's some that you see there, but you're saying how come you don't see more? I'm asking quantify how much more would make sense to you?
Yeah. Okay. So I see. Okay. How can I really say this? So I am not of the position that R would be Jacob's seed. I'm not of that position, right? However, I think that I haven't done a Y DNA, but I've done some other DNA tests, and it gives like a you put your autosome once and stuff, and it kind of guesses your Y. And a majority of them have guessed that I'm R, right? So okay, but when I look at it, my R. And from the DNA test that I've taken, it says that it originates specifically from the Levant, and I don't think I'm from the seed of Jacob. So I'm just trying to understand if E is, why is that not in the Levant? Like it seems to skip right over it, or it has to migrate to the Levant. You know what I mean? I'm thinking it should originate in the Levant and migrate outwards.
So again, that's what that's exactly what Ibri was explaining to you. So again, the origin of E is going to be DE. Which what he read to you earlier, what he just repeated to you now, was the fact that it's going to papers are going to say it's going to originate in potentially like the Middle East. Sometimes they'll say even Asia, etc. Whatnot. There's not like a super pinned down area on it, but however the area does cover it, it shows again. You see the migration of D when DE splits into D and E. You see D going into East Asia, whatnot, and you do see E coming down into Western Asia, into Africa. And so again, out of the ancient DNA that you see comprising potential mixed multitudes and whatnot, the vast majority of what you're going to see is going to be E and J with the third subgroup being R.
I'm going to share my screen again really quick, Berean. But also, is this Kobe? I want to make sure I get the name right.
Oh, yeah, I forget. I don't know why my picture doesn't show up on YouTube. My bad. Yeah, but it's Kobe.
So also you have to remember with Dunamis, what I was showing with that heat map, that was dealing with modern distribution as well, by the way. It's not dealing with ancient distribution.
That was specific haplogroup with that.
Right, of his specific haplogroup. So that's where people are today, but not where people were, let's say 15,000 years ago. So that we have to keep that in mind as well. Modern distribution versus ancient distribution. But let me pull this up.
Keeping migration into account, because when you're saying more, right? Like, so you shouldn't see like every haplogroup E like originate in the Levant or in one spot, or all mutations happen in one spot. Let me say it like that. You're going to see the origin of E being one spot, and then you're going to see migration move people around the world or whatnot. Mutations happen in different places.
Yeah, my question is more so. Yeah, well, I see Coach from mine was more with the origin, and then kind of just seeing if y'all have Eden as a literal place or more not metaphorical.
I can show you Dunamis for Eden if you want. I don't know. If
maybe we should take that one after we go through Jordan.
Yeah, that's it after. That's it after. We just want to show Adam was a real person. We want to show Adam was a real person. Science shows Adam did exist because some folks they're not rocking with that original man.
Well, there's definitely like a Y DNA out here. You know what I'm saying? Science definitely confirms that concept, right? And that just goes back to talking about like our last our most original genetic bottleneck.
Can you share my screen really quick?
Green, did you want to say something?
By the way?
Yeah. When you talk about Adam, now you touching on that original man. I ain't trying to change the topic, but man, that original man is a beast, man. Now I ain't calling Adam a beast. I'm a very don't take that and twist it. Adam, see people get up and disrespect our ancestors. I don't play that. But that original man, like, that's a good topic. I'll lean on that.
Yeah, we can touch on that afterward. That okay. Further back.
Yeah. Actually, that would be an interesting topic. I love to touch on Adam and Eve and the origin of these. Yeah, we can definitely do that after Dunamis. But
I'm gonna
can you share my screen really quick?
So E-Breed, before we start getting lost into the weeds, bro, and start inundating people with way too much information, I think we should really try to get back just to the basic what Jordan is doing.
Okay, I was about to go into DE, but yeah, we can go back to Jordan.
That's cool.
Did you want me to read what I have? Did you want me to go ahead and read what I have for DE or go?
No, I say we go back and just touch on this mitochondrial and go to his autosomal.
Got it. Okay.
Jordan, you literally covered a lot with DE already in what you read off.
Yeah, that's true.
This question.
That's true. You can pull up your screen then, Jordan, because that's all I was going to show concerning your haplogroup. That it is indeed seen with people in Kenya, even Saudi Arabia, Gambia, and that it does seem like that there was an ancient presence in even Arabia in the Bronze, Iron, and Roman eras. Mm. So now I'll let Moore kind of take over some bits and pieces when it comes to the autosomal and the MT DNA. And I'll also like I'll chime in every now and then on some things.
Okay. I still got my screen up, big bro. Got to pull it up.
Okay. Well, while we wait on that, did you understand everything that I was saying? Was it like confusing or was it too fast?
No, y'all doing a good job.
Okay.
I understood what you were saying though. And I took the notes you asked me to take too.
What's up? Hey, real quick, E-Breed, do you have any predictions to make about his autosomal DNA?
I believe that if he were to do a deep dive into his DNA, he is going to get either some North African or some Middle Eastern, or maybe both. I would recommend that he gets DNA Genix, get his DNA imputed, and then put it into different calculators and really stretch out that DNA and see what's in it.
And if you're not trying to do it like on the super nerd level, like what EB's talking about, because we geek out on and do it like that. If you want to do it simpler, you can just get. I would also recommend like 23andMe is a really good DNA test to do, but they're not. They can be super hypersensitive to North Africa and East Africa sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's also where they reject matches that could possibly go there. And if you actually double check your DNA with family tree DNA, they're way better at actually profiling North African and East African DNA. And particularly with what your DNA looks like or what your haplogroup look like, I would definitely recommend checking out.
Family tree DNA.
Yes, sir.
All right.
But like, so with the 23, real quick, 23andMe.
Oh, I already got
any predictions as to what his autosomals look like in terms of like where his stuff pops up? Because we saw a little bit, but we didn't really get into the weeds of it.
Also, Jordan, write down genome link. It seems to also be very generous with North African and Middle Eastern DNA. And that one's also pretty cheap as well. It's not like super expensive.
Did you hear the question?
Wait, there was a question.
Yeah, I asked you if any predictions about his autosomal DNA in terms of 23andMe.
Oh, 23andMe. Well, I saw that he had like 63% sub-Saharan African. I didn't take a look at the East African though. I should have paused and looked at that. But
I think he's gonna have
a decent. Yeah, go ahead.
I think he's gonna have a good chunk from East Africa. I get to see it. I'm real intrigued to see what your trace DNA looks like, because I think in your trace DNA we're gonna see some North Africa or some Middle Eastern or some East Africa, or maybe something from Madagascar.
Right.
Okay. Big bro must step away.
I shouldn't have put my screen down. I could have pulled up some more
Yeah.
stuff. But
Hey, real quick. So, what? Somebody asked a question. You can talk on that while Berean steps back. So, can someone be descended from? It was JT Mac. Pull it up. Can you ask Hebrew or Hebrew more if one can be Semitic and not descendant of Jacob, like being descendant of Shem, but not Abraham or Jacob?
Wait, say that one more time.
Can someone be a descendant of Shem but not Jacob?
Can someone be?
Yeah, 100%.
Shem?
It's extremely possible. It's very, very, very possible that you can be a descendant of Shem and not Jacob.
I even know the answer. I even know the answer to that question.
Yeah, great. Chill out.
No, Moore's right. You can be a descendant. You can be a Shemite and not, an Israelite.
Now I would say that's a fact, and I ain't a blood guy. I knew that because you got more Shemites than just Jacob. The Abraham.
Yeah, one comes before two, comes before three. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I just want to ask. He brought it up, so I want to ask his question.
No, 100%. That's what's up.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So if you want to, Jordan, we can blindly guide you through 23andMe because we do it all the time. So we don't even need to see your screen to be able to walk you through some of it.
Okay.
It'd be nice for the people, but just so there's not there, we could definitely walk you through some of it. So if you go back, if you go back to your ancestry composition, or you can go to your maternal DNA if you want to. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there we go.
That's what it is. So we already did this. So if you want to go back, we can go back and screen. You can check out your.
We're looking
at. Wait. Did we finish it, Bree? Did we go all the way through his paternal?
Yeah, I think. Well, we didn't read the Bantu migration, but I think everybody kind of knows about that.
Does it say if you're connected to anybody in terms of an ancient ancestor, something like that, in terms of like somebody famous, something like that? Let's go down to the bottom.
And can you just give a quick overview of Bantu migration for those that don't know?
Okay.
So basically, with the Bantu migration, there was a group of.
Nope.
What'd you say, Mo?
Yeah, you can scroll back up to the part where it says Bantu migration real quick for people. Right? There you go.
Yeah, so just to break down the Bantu migration, there's two different hypotheses on where it would have started. One is in Nigeria, Cameroonian area, and the other is actually more towards the north. But basically, it was a group of people, I guess you can call them Proto-Bantu, that started to migrate into sub-Saharan Africa, and they brought with them agriculture and iron working tools, which is pretty interesting. Because as we know, according to archaeology, agriculture starts in the Middle East, and so does iron smelting. But anyways, these Bantu groups started migrating into places that was inhabited by hunter-gatherer groups like Pygmies and Khoisan, and started pushing some of them further south, and you mix with some of them. That's how you have the Rosa people and stuff like that. So yeah, that's sort of just a summary of the Bantu expansion. Happened around 3,000, 4,000 years ago, which is around the time of the Iron Age. And yeah, they were just kind of like the Aryans, migrating and pushing people out of the way.
All right, thank you. Yeah, some things not everybody so on the same page because not everybody knows. Yeah.
Right, that's true. But you can go ahead and do it more with that.
Yeah, we go back to that mitochondria and jumping in. So
So Jordan, that's where you get your clippers from. The Bantu migration. That's why you're so close to iron, brother.
So I go to all ancestry reports again.
Yeah.
Are you going to look into his MT or his autosome?
Yeah, his MT. It's right there. You can
Yeah,
click
let you handle that.
And this is this does the same thing that his paternal line does. It's going to show you the origin. It's going to show you. It's going to walk it down. And since he's L3, it's going to be real close to the origin point, just like his E haplogroup is real close to the origin of the United States. So if you scroll down just a little bit there, Jordan. You can see it's a real short migration. Man, this is literally like the shortest one I've ever really seen. Like between you and Shari, like the people who are L3. There's a lot of people who are L3 with that. But I'll read this off like we did. If every person living today could trace his or her maternal line back over thousands of generations, all of our lines would meet at a single woman who lived in Eastern Africa between 150,000 and 200,000 years ago. Though she was perhaps one of perhaps thousands of women alive at the time, only the diverse branches of her have survived to today. The story of your maternal line, begins with her. And so if you go down just a little bit further, it's going to show you your specific. It should. Yep, L3D, L3D1. And it's, there we go. They go scrub just a little bit more to L3D. Yeah, that's what I want to show the people right there. So because that's going to give you some idea as to like who has it where and whatnot. And so this is talking about 26,000 years ago or younger, depending on the model. There was a mutation L3D. Origin and migration happening with L3D. The maternal line stems from L3D, a branch of L3 that arose in Western Africa about 26,000 years ago. Like many haplogroups found in that part of Africa, it spread widely with the migrations of Bantu-speaking people that began approximately 4,000 years ago. L3D is now found at high levels among the Bantu-speaking Sukuma of Tanzania and quite common in Mozambique due to the importance of Western Africa in the Atlantic slave trade. It is found among African Americans. You go down to L3D1, and that's your specific one, right? And so this is why I also say it's interesting to look at. I'm interested in looking into your mitochondria or your autosomal because you can see L3D also in Mozambique, where a lot of slaves were taken into West Africa. Over 540,000 slaves were taken from the ports of Mozambique. So we have not only a West African stream of genetics in African American DNA, we also have a small stream of East African genetics that we see coming in through the Caribbean. And also into the southeastern parts of America. So yeah, let's go back to your ancestry composition and check out your autosomal DNA and really get it in for the people.
Clicking the wrong ancestry composition.
Yeah, you can actually scroll down and hit that blue button right there.
I see some purple, by the way. I think he does have middle name. You see that purple sliver? I think
bro. I'm trying to see what's up with that trace, bro. So we're gonna go through this real slow section by section, right? Like so, the sub-Saharan African is 68.3%. Of that, West African is 54.5%. A really big chunk from the Ghanaian, Liberian, Sierra Leone area, which is higher than average than I normally see at 23%. Nigeria is coming a little bit lower than I normally see people, but it's still a good chunk at 20%. Senegambia and Guinea at 3.5%. Broadly West African at 7.2%. Again, that's going to be, this is how 23andMe maps out like Mali, Mauritania. You know what I'm saying? So again, you can also find Jordan's DNA in again, Senegal and in Mali. We see Congolese in Southeast Africa, 12.8%. Of that, 9.9% is Angolan Congolese, where it's saying that it's linking you with the Congo and Mabundu peoples. That's what's up. And 1%, strong 1% Southeast African. That's very interesting. Broadly Congolese and Southeastern African 1.9%. African Hunter-Gatherer 0.5%. Broadly Sub-Saharan African 0.5%. Anything you want to say about that, Bree?
You got some pygmy in you. No, I'm playing with you. 0.5 though. We're all going to have a little bit of an African hunter-gatherer, which we interpret as ham when it comes to the A and B markers, but we'll keep going.
Let's go down to the European section. So it says you were 29.9% European, Northwestern 29%, British and Irish 26.6%. Shout out to Amanda in Glasgow. I see that right there. Scandinavian 0.4%. Broadly Northwestern 3.2%. So your people are looking like so. What's their ties to the Caribbean or whatnot?
Man, I absolutely don't know. I don't know where we came from.
So yes, we definitely got it looks like you mixed with a lot of Irish people that came with that word. So a lot of the Irish were indentured servants and whatnot. They were a big labor force that were working alongside the slaves. And even after slavery, there was a large overlap between the Irish and the African Americans for a long time.
Nah, far as I know, man, it probably gonna sound real basic, but I do know my grandma's mixed. Like her father is white. She was born in the 1920s. That's my mother's mother. So, and her daddy though, I don't know how it worked, bro.
No, it is. But like so no, there was a large mixing between the Irish and the African American population. They were on the bottom rungs together. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But yeah, your paternal mitochondria both go back to Africa. You know what I'm saying? Not that matters. It doesn't matter. It just is what it is. Right. So what I'm finding interesting, I don't see any Ashkenazi Jewish on there whatsoever.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, but I didn't want to say anything.
Very small percentage of Southern European and Spanish, Portuguese, etc., but no Ashkenazi Jewish, like none, not even 0.1%. I rarely ever see that. You know what I'm saying? And just so you know, when you see Ashkenazi Jewish pop up on 23andMe, for anyone who sees it, they throw all Jewish DNA into Ashkenazi Jewish. They don't test for any other separate types of Jewish. That's another reason why I would also recommend if you take a 23 to back it up with a family tree DNA, because they actually test for more Jewish populations in 23. They test for Ashkenazi, Mizrahi, Sephardic and Rebbe, Ethiopian, etc. Now it's going to get super interesting. Let's throw down into your East Asian type stuff.
Okay. Right here.
Indigenous Americans. Yeah. And what's up with that trace ancestry? I'm intrigued to see if North Africa lights up. Bro.
Drum roll, please. West Asian.
Damn. Broadly West Africa. Yep.
West Asian and North African.
Filipino. Bam. Yep.
You definitely have a very, very ancient presence in that area.
Yep. And so if you actually click on them, it'll light up the map for you. So you'll see like North Africa light up. You'll see the broadly Western Asian, North Africa. Yeah. You feel what I'm saying? That's you, bro.
Wow.
All right, Evergreen. Anybody else got any more questions for them in the comment section? I know I'm walking away and moving around, but I want to make sure y'all are clear on what y'all are hearing.
So, more, did you want to read some of that? Because I think that's important.
Yeah, the peoples of Western Asia, North Africa have deep linguistic and genetic connections with one another, dating back to some of the earliest migrations out of Africa. The spread of Islam in the past 1,400 years has also dramatically shaped the region's more recent genetic landscape. As a result, it may be difficult to confidently assign some DNA to just one population. And you also have North Africans. So they're giving you like 0.3% trace DNA in North Africa, in the Middle East, probably West Asia. That's pretty significant, specifically being African American. That's why I was saying you were talking in your east to west migration potentially. To me, it looks like you more so came from an east to west migration versus like maybe coming directly from East African slave ports. because we do see, and it still could be out of the way, but I'm seeing a good chunk coming from that broadly West Africa, that Mali part, and I'm seeing that part coming from some of the Yemen. So I'm seeing this Sahelian section, whatnot, to where like when people who have this Sahelian connection thing, this is where you're going to see a lot of the DNA coming up from the Middle East and North Africa. Would you agree? Disagree?
Repeat that last part.
about people in the Sahel. When you find people from West Africa having a connection to the Middle East, you're most likely to find it with people who have a large chunk of Sahelian DNA.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because that Sahel is where you find the trans-Saharan trade routes to where the people from the Middle East were coming over. Whether you're coming down from North Africa, whether you're coming down from like Morocco, whether you're coming down from like Egypt, or whether you're coming from Yemen, Ethiopia, etc., you got to go through the Sahel to get to West Africa.
Right, it's the best place because that's where, I mean, just I'm not gonna get into it, but yeah, that's the best route to go.
Mm-hmm. And so Jordan, your DNA is showing the fingerprints of that Sahelian trade route.
Hey, that's cool, man. So I got to run them other tests to dig deeper, huh?
Yeah, dig much deeper. You probably have more Middle Eastern DNA, just that 23andMe, but more Middle Eastern and North African DNA. It's just that 23andMe can only go so far. Yeah, so you have to get a deeper dive. But you can say this, Jordan. You can say that you have Middle Eastern and North African DNA. You can actually say that.
And yeah, you got Southeast African DNA as well. You know what I'm saying? So again, you got a large chunk of. So this is why we came on here and tried to explain that this whole EM2 or E isolation within West Africa is a myth, and it does not shake out when you examine DNA. This is also why we talk about the fact that and Kofi, this is what we're talking about in terms of like E being Semitic or whatnot, right? Like, so you see this tie here. You know what I'm saying? You're saying like, why don't you see more? Again, you're seeing the origins of the right? So any migrations you see they're from, you're going to find these connections in the trace genetics. That's why it's so important. Right? And we were able to say this before we even looked at this, right? Like, oh, that money when you go into the trace genetics, it seems like he has the North African, the broadly West Asian, Middle Eastern types, right? Because that's what his Y DNA was looking at. Its origin points with it, right? This is also why I was saying it was shaky in Aaron Elhike's website in terms of when he was when Yeshub used it, and it said he had zero connection to the Levant in terms of like the Israelite DNA, etc., whatnot, or that he was just 100% Stone Age African. Because if you're haplogroup E, and specifically like if you're haplogroup like E1B1A or E1B1B, you're going to have a connection to the Levant somewhere, right? And it should show up in a trace situation, just like I'm seeing here. So this is the compare and contrast what we were saying the last time we did this.
Now I think all African Americans get some type of Middle Eastern trace DNA. In the future, I'll explain my DNA, but I can actually go ahead and say this: my trace DNA for 23andMe is Anatolia. What's yours, More? I think yours is Egypt or something.
Yeah, mine actually looks just like this.
Okay, yeah. So
no, my Egypt comes in my regular population, right? My regular population. Like my traces, it's broadly Western Asian, North African, and it's also I believe Melanesian.
Right. And so what we see is that all African Americans are getting some type of ancient Middle East.
Not all.
Excuse me. Not all. I wasn't.
That's why I specifically pointed out the Sahelian region, right? Like, so a lot of people discount the Sahel from being part of West Africa and don't recognize it as a big part of West Africa, and it's a big part of West African history. They kind of throw it into the North Africa, and it's its own thing. Like, so when we're talking about like the Songhai empires, the Mali empires, the Ghana empires, you're talking about Sahelian empires. When you're talking about the areas, that these areas are where a lot of these Jews are coming in from Yemen, Ethiopia, Egypt, etc. Because of this trans-Saharan trade route, going through the Sahel, right? And so this is where you're going to find a lot of that trace DNA. People in the Congo not necessarily going to have the same trace levels of DNA with us. They might, depending on who they mix with or whatnot. But it's not as common. I've seen a lot of people from that area that they don't have this trace.
A lot of people from the Congo are like pygmies and stuff.
Exactly.
So for me, so I want to get this clear. So EM85 is neither E1B1A or E1B1B.
No, sir.
Correct.
Okay.
You are like me, sir. You are part of the subsect of African Americans who are happy with E, but are not E1B. You were like me, you and Dante are in the same boat.
Okay.
And in fact, if you want to get technical, our joints are super old. Whether you go with the young Earth or old Earth, like we're like Shem's whole nephew in this piece. You know what I'm saying? Like we're like Ibree's cousin. You know what I'm saying? Like Iber's cousin and whatnot. We're up there on the family tree, like, but still Shemitic in a model whatnot. Like, and what's interesting is like, so we like our haplogroups, your and mine in particular, are some of the oldest haplogroups in West Africa, right? And setting up shop, particularly in the Sahel region or whatnot. So there's people like again, like the Mali who have a joint, like the Dogon, like there's a lot of people who have my DNA, like try to have my DNA, like the Wolof, the Dogon, people in Senegal that have your DNA as well, just because of how old it is.
Okay.
Y'all's
That's
marker
cool.
broke the way for us to arrive.